So there is a rematch clause for Daniel Dubois versus Fabio Wardley, and this could be a very bad idea for Fabio Wardley. Let's put it that way. This could be a very bad idea if this rematch does go ahead. Yeah, look, even though the facts are there, Wardley dropped him twice. The fact is, this is a very bad stylistic fight for him, as Daniel Dubois proved with the absolute beatdown that he put on him. A career-changing beatdown that Daniel Dubois put on Fabio Wardley the other day. Yeah, look, okay. In the last year, inside the last, it's basically the last 11 months, less than a year, Wardley has taken beatings off of Hooney, even though he came back and won. He took a beating for 10 rounds, 9 rounds. Then, let's be honest, took some big blows against Joseph Parker. It was competitive here and there, but he was losing the fight and he was getting beaten up badly at times, even though he came back and won. Then he took a bad beatdown over basically it was 9 rounds, because every round where Daniel Dubois didn't get dropped, he won. He took 9 rounds of just a constant beatdown from Daniel Dubois, literally one of the hardest hitters, probably other than Wardley himself, in the heavyweight division. So take that as you will. Fabio Wardley should not take this rematch. It's a very bad idea for his health. It's a very bad idea for his career as well, in my opinion. If he does take this, he don't need to rematch, and there's other routes back to the top. And look, it'll be good to see Wardley get back up there, but he's done everything he needs to achieve. There's no point putting himself through another Daniel Dubois fight. There's no point. Look at how far he's come from 7 white collar fights, no amateur pedigree, 0. Comes into boxing, and within 20 fights, he's a bloody world champion. So, you know, give him credit. Give him credit. But you're not beating Daniel Dubois in a rematch. You're not. It's not going to happen. And yeah, look, even though it was a beatdown, it was a great fight to watch. But that doesn't mean a kind of rematch. And look, I was against the Eubank versus Ben rematch because I just thought it'd be good for a one-time thing. But but look, even though it was fight of the year, but that was a fight of the year because it was a bloody close fight. It was a competitive fight. Both guys hurt and stunned each other in the fight. That's what happened here. Again, yes, Wardley dropped Dubois, but other than that, he had no moments. He dropped him twice, had no moments other than those knockdowns. Absolutely none. It was just the same old thing from him. An immediate rematch is very dangerous for Fabio. And, I made a video on it already. He needs at least a year out the ring, 6 months out of sparring after that. That's ideal for you. You can't come back after about 6 months for a rematch. You need 6 months out of sparring, let alone just out of the bloody ring. Like, that can't happen. Daniel Dubois is physically too much for him. It would be worse in a rematch. It would be worse. He'd get beaten down and then knocked out. Fabio Wardley would. He would get beaten down and then actually put out cold. You know, That's the thing. That's the thing. That is what would happen. He wouldn't get a chance to knock Dubois down in a rematch. It's not gonna happen. He wouldn't drop Dubois in a rematch. It would be bloody worse for him. And losing to the same guy twice, you just don't. I don't think there's any point in Wardley putting himself through that. It was too bad for him to rematch him. Too bad. It's. I still feel like this is very different to a Joshua Ruiz kind of situation, because even though Ruiz was dropping AJ about in that first fight, it's like I still feel like people saw a route to victory for Anthony Joshua, which he proved in the rematch. That's what happened. A lot of people thought would happen. But then you go into this kind of thing, and it's like, what even is the route to victory for Fabio Wardley? A lucky punch? He has to knock Dubois out? I'm telling you, Dubois, if this rematch happens, Dubois bloody tightening up, and he's not getting that success that he did again in that first fight. He's not. Wardley's not getting that same success. He's not getting those knockdowns again in a rematch. It would not happen at all. I don't even know why there is a rematch. Wardley didn't even bloody defend the title successfully once. What's he doing with a rematch clause, though? I want to see Daniel Dubois move on. I'm sure Dubois wants to move on himself. There's better things for him to do than this rematch. And it's like, look, going to this first fight, I feel like it was a very big fight because a lot of people, didn't really know what way it was going to go. I thought Daniel Dubois would win, but I was like, yeah, there's a chance that Wardley does win. But, I was confident in Dubois. For this fight, though, for a rematch, the same thing, but worse will happen. This isn't a fight where it's like you can fight aside Fabio Wardley winning it. It's not going to happen. Stylistically, it's just not going to happen. Even like I look at like Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith, for example, that kind of rematch. I still saw a route for a Eubank Jr. win before the fight. I predicted Eubank Jr. to win the rematch, and he did, because there was a route to victory for him there. I do not see any possible route to victory for Fabio Wardley against Daniel Dubois. There is absolutely zero. There's no route to victory for him. Yeah, look, Wardley's toughness is his strength and his danger. It is. And it's going to be even more of a danger when he does come back and fight again. And the last person you want to bloody go into, especially in an immediate rematch, is with the guy who's already smashed you about in Daniel Dubois. You do not want to do that. Wardley can come back in a year and have a decent fight. That's what he can do. He doesn't need this rematch. It's dangerous, way too dangerous for him. There's other ways back. You don't need to be everyone. You don't need to be everyone. There are other ways back for Fabio Wardley. If he takes a year out, I still think he's got a good future. If he comes right back and rematches Dubois, he's going to be done very soon. It's going to be a very quick career, done and dusted for him. If he comes back and fights Dubois in a rematch, if he fights Dubois again in the rematch, I guarantee you he's not fighting again afterwards, because he'll lose that badly. It'll be like, you probably can't come back, mate. There's generally just no, there's no coming back. It's a difficult road back, and he just generally just won't want to. It'd be too dangerous for him to actually come back. He needs to take a year out and regroup. You can't go into an immediate rematch with someone like Dubois. Dubois doesn't even need the rematch either. Plus, why has Wardley even got a rematch clause? It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic rematch clauses that are put on. He didn't even have a successful defense of the title. I think rematches should happen if you have successful defense of the title. Like for Alexander Usyk, he can have bloody rematch clauses all day round because look at what he's doing right now. Wardley is the champion. He was only champion because Usyk vacated the belt. What's he doing with a rematch clause? Look, if Daniel Dubois successfully defends in his next title defense, whoever that might be against, then yeah, you could probably have one for a rematch after. But I don't think Dubois should have a rematch clause for his next fight. That shouldn't happen. There's got to be a bloody rule in place for that. I don't even know why. This fight's just generally as well. This fight was just generally just good for just a one-time thing, and it should bloody stay that way. I'm begging there is no rematch here for Wardley's sake, and so that way we can see Daniel Dubois move on and just make that resume even better than it is right now. That's what needs to happen. I'll be fuming if this rematch gets announced.